cuss her out? Why you ain't cuss her out? I ain't finna do that to him. I'm just saying, bitch, stop doing it. You always doing it. Calling me here for what?
You
That's not no op. If you call me, soon as you call me, you didn't call else. Sign my op. Creep. That's why that girl hates you, because you made that girl get on national mother TV and embarrass herself. You should have told her that she was still in love with Santana, bitch, and she would never be feeling no type of way. That's stuff. Stop playing with people. Bitch, you playing a dangerous game. That girl supposed to have mother baby, bitch, you don't put her on TV.
get something to eat, you fat piece of mother.
No more.
Get something to eat.
The bustle of the metropolis was nothing in comparison to the tempest that was building within the realm of love and hip-hop. As the Atlanta skyline blazed like a neon battleground beneath the black sky, Atlanta this time, it was personal. With Saucy Santana and a man whose fury was as hot as his words standing in the middle of the room, his jaw set ablaze. It wasn't just another night of drama, parties, and trivial arguments. The air around him was heavy with tension, his irritation boiling just beneath the surface, ready to explode. His entire body tightened and his fists stiffened, appearing like a ticking time bomb, the kind of pressure that only years of accumulated animosity could generate. This wasn't just another
with you, and I had to accept them if I was gonna do that. So if y'all are part of me, I need to know who y'all is.
But still,
we're gonna
go in on her.
I'm not going in on her. I never said nothing to you. I didn't give you a definite answer.
The things that you said about her.
She don't know what I said at that brunch.
I told her.
Exactly.
I told her. She seen it.
So you should have been telling her everything.
Just like
the same way you came back and told me everything that she was saying about me.
On the other side of the room, the brash, loudmouth rapper Santana, who had earned his position in the spotlight without apology, stood with a sneer that made you want to slap it off his face. With his controversial remarks and audacious personality, Saucy was accustomed to being the center of attention. He had previously made small, snide remarks about Zell in an attempt to elicit a reaction. But this time, the lines had been crossed. The insults began with a tweet here, a joke there, and then moved on to Zell's baby mama. However, as time passed, they became more obscene. Saucy had no filter, and Zell's tolerance had run thin. It wasn't just the words, though, it was the fact that Saucy had crossed a boundary into something far more agonizing: personal ruin. Zell attempted to be the bigger man, but it was obvious that Saucy had no regard for boundaries. Zell's world had fallen apart, and he resented Saucy for it. The weight of it all was too much for Zell to bear alone any longer. Zell's girlfriend was so distraught by Saucy's statements that she ended up crying and going to the hospital unbelievably stressed. The public shaming and baby mama drama, everything had reached a breaking point. And Zell was going to give Saucy every bit of his suffering. This was more important than the show. This was his family, his heart, and his life. And Saucy Santana had threatened to destroy it all. Saucy! Zell's voice boomed across the room, cutting through the din of a party that had been going on. He entered the room like a man possessed, his eyes dark with rage. He didn't care about the lights, the cameras, or the fact that they were surrounded by people who might try to stop him. Just before silence fell in the room, the two men who sensed this wouldn't be your average beef became the center of attention. Saucy didn't flinch. On the contrary, he straightened up and maintained his cocky demeanor. "What's up, C?" He rolled his eyes and sneered. "You still upset about some pointless tweets?" Fury, pure nonsense. Blazing fury burned in Zell's eyes. "You believe this is only about your insignificant remarks? That you can disparage my baby mama, make my girl feel unworthy, and that I won't take any action?"
How you want me to support you?
I don't want your support because you support that.
I'm the first bitch you call. I'm the first bitch you call, Zell. I'm the first bitch you call.
Laughed dramatically and said in a sarcastic tone, "Man, are you really going to stand here and act like I'm the reason your life is a mess? Perhaps you should take a look in the mirror before accusing me of being the cause of your problems." He took a step closer, his body language emitting wrath, and Hugh thought it was just him. Zell's face twisted in a mixture of disbelief and disgust. "You're really still talking? You believe that there are no repercussions for the disrespectful remarks you make about my family?" Everyone knew that he had a temper, but no one anticipated that he would lose control in this way. And no one could have predicted what would happen next. The tension was growing by the moment, and the air was crackling with anticipation. Saucy Zell persisted, using a low, menacing voice. I am losing my child as a result of your disrespect. My girl is currently in the hospital, barely surviving, and I am witnessing the disintegration of my family. Careless speech. Don't attempt to blame me for your issues, Zell. You believe you're the only one who's been harmed in this game? Saucy's eyes narrowed for a second, his haughtiness faltering, but then he flashed a glance that could cut through steel. You believe I don't have a personal devil? Now, instead of shaking out of terror, my hands are shaking from the strong, feelings coursing through me. I don't care about your monster, Sultry. I care for mine. And because of you, I'm going through a terrible time. You want to ridicule me and treat my family with disrespect? You wish to be disrespectful to my family? But before Saucy could reply, Zell made the worst mistake of his life. In an instant, he flung his palm through the air and gave Saucy a forceful face slap. The sound reverberated throughout the room, shattering everyone into silence. It was more than simply a slap. It was a representation of Zell's suffering, his anger, and the last straw that had caused him to break. The crowd gasped, some cheering, some wondering whether to intervene or let the two men settle it on their own. But no one dared to step in. As Saucy staggered back, his cheek burning from the intensity of the strike, Zell interrupted. You're not untouchable, Saucy, despite what you might believe. Zell stood erect, his chest heaving with every breath. Being famous doesn't make you unbeatable, but when you mess with the wrong person, and I am that person, there's no protection. I'm done talking, Saucy said, wiping his cheek, his eyes tightening with fury. You think this is over? He shouted, but Zell had already turned his back. Next time you won't be as fortunate, Zell snarled, his voice as cold as ice. Zell bounded from the room, his thoughts still churning. The war was far from over, but for tonight, Zell had made his stand. And if Saucy Santana believed that this was the end of it, he was going to learn a harsh lesson about how far Zell would go to protect what was his. The weight of everything that had happened didn't feel like a victory, but rather, the beginning of something.
I ain't get out on the right mother person because I do to you.
Yes, you did.
Every mother time you always doing it.
You are.
You came to do a the scene started to cuss me out. Why you ain't cuss her out? 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 I ain't gonna do that to him. I'm just saying, bitch, stop doing it. You already doing it. Calling me here for what? That's not no op. If you call me, soon as you call me, you didn't call me out.
The breakdown was honest, genuine, and incredibly human, serving as a reminder that even in the world of reality TV, cast members of drama and glamour are still coping with the same complicated emotions and difficulties as everyone else. Santana's and Zell's following. Moods were the emotional fallout from this moment, which would play out in the upcoming episodes. But for the time being, all fans could do was watch as Santana worked through the complexities of his feelings. It was unclear if this revelation would force a chasm between them or if they could mend their broken friendship.
I don't want to carry before marry. So I want to be married. So how do you feel about that?
About marriage?
Yeah,
A pregnancy test.
we can do that.
You need some water so you can do.
No, I can be.
Nah, pull out no mother pregnancy test. I don't mother me. Let me see.
Since you, why would you do that?
Boy, please.
Why would you do that?
Why
Like, for
would
real?
you show me a pregnancy test? Don't pull out a pregnancy test. Oh, like,
What is wrong with pregnancy test? Are you jealous that Zell is having a baby with someone that's not?
Santana is jealous. Why can't you be happy? Why can't you support? Because you're jelly. You're jelly on the toe.
With each revelation, the atmosphere changed as Saucy started to face the truth of his circumstances. He had been looking for assurance in the wrong places, using money to keep someone close when what he really wanted was a bond based on trust and emotional connection. The idea of paying Chef D for companionship came from a place of fear rather than love. As he accepted the truth they had discussed late into the night, revealing worries and dreams that had been suppressed, Zell could feel a burden leaving Saw's shoulders for the first time in a long time. Saucy appeared to discover clarity in the midst of his emotional turmoil. Dawn broke over Atlanta, and a new day full of opportunities appeared. After realizing that paying for companionship was only a short-term solution that couldn't replace the emptiness left by true love and support, Saucy was resolved to re-establish his relationship with FD in order to find authenticity and a deeper emotional connection, a renewed sense of optimism. He knew that Saucy's path ahead would be difficult, but he was determined to support his friend's side as he made his way through this new phase in a society that frequently made it difficult to distinguish between convenience and love. According to Zell, genuine, meaningful connections were still possible. As the sun rose higher in the sky, the city was bathed in a warm glow. With Zell's unwavering support, Saucy felt empowered to pursue a love that was true to himself and didn't depend on financial incentives. He decided to confront Chef D about the nature of their relationship, in the hopes of building a bond based on honesty and emotional depth, rather than one based on the beauty of vulnerability. Ultimately, the journey of self-discovery and sincere connection would mold Saucy's identity in the realm of love and hip-hop, as well as his relationships. One thing was certain: as the drama played out in Atlanta, love, when properly fostered, would always prevail against the shallowness of the glamorous world surrounding them. Fascinated and growing more worried after deciding it was time to look into it, Zell imagined nights full of laughter and companionship. But now he sensed, as he went through these memories, that the glitzy exterior frequently concealed deeper insecurities and fears, particularly in the world they lived in. As the days went by, Zell found himself struggling with the implications of this revelation, realizing that the pressures of fame could distort perceptions of love and loyalty, making it simple for people to find solace in transactional relationships rather than trusting romantic relationships or accepting vulnerability. One evening, as the Atlanta skyline shimmered, the thought that someone as lively and gifted as Saucy could feel the need to pay for friendship resonated with him. He wanted to guide his friend through this dangerous area. Under the stars, Zell made the decision to face Saucy about the rumors. They met at their favorite lounge, which was lively, with music, laughter, and the aroma of delectable cuisine. However, the talk that was about to start weighed heavy on the atmosphere. Taking time with careful word choice, Zell addressed the subject and conveyed his thoughts about the connection, making it apparent that his worries were rooted in friendship. First, Saucy, who was always charming, dismissed the conversation with a laugh. But as the evening went on, the laughter subsided, and a more in-depth topic started. It was Zell's words that made Saucy consider the truth of his relationship with Chef D in terms of vulnerability. Saucy talked candidly about his anxieties about being alone and abandoned. He acknowledged that the demands of celebrity had made him feel uncomfortable, which made him think that receiving money was a way to win people over. With a heavy heart, Zell listened carefully, understanding that Saucy's worries were not unusual in their environment, where partnerships may be short-lived and trust was frequently eclipsed by glitz and glitter. Zell underlined the value of genuine relationships, reminding Saucy that love should be founded on genuineness and respect for one another rather than material gain. Identifying the appropriate time, carefully selecting his words, and sharing his thoughts regarding the partnership, he made it apparent that his worries are rooted in friendship. Saucy is always charming, laughed, and dismissed the talk at first. But as the evening wore on, a deeper conversation emerged, and Zell could see the glimmer of doubt in his eyes. Zell's remarks touched a nerve, causing Saucy to consider the truth of his connection with Chef D in a vulnerable way. Saucy talked candidly about his worries about loneliness and desertion, acknowledging that the demands of celebrity had left him feeling uneasy, making him think that receiving money was a way to win his loyalty. Zell listened carefully, his heart heaving with sympathy, and he understood that S's worries were not unusual in their world, a world where relationships might be short-lived and trust was frequently eclipsed by glitz and glitter. Zell stressed the need for sincere bonds, reminding Saucy that love should be founded on sincerity and respect for one another, not on financial dealings. As the conversation deepened, Saucy began to confront the reality of his situation. The idea of paying Chef D for companionship stemmed from a place of fear rather than love. He had been searching for reassurance in the wrong places, using money as a way to keep someone close, when what he truly desired was a bond built on trust and emotional connection. With each revelation, the atmosphere shifted. Zell could sense a weight lifting from Saucy's shoulders as he acknowledged the truth. They spoke late into the night, unraveling dreams and fears that had been buried under layers of expectation.